Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first Spirit Drivers videocast. My name is Elise Dorset. I'm a relationship transformation coach.
And my name is Greg Gerdeau. I'm a business advisor and a startup advisor as well. It's really nice to see all of you this morning.
We're so excited to be here. We've got a special guest, Cole Baker Bagwell, for our first guest on this videocast series that we're doing. And before we invite Cole on, we just want to tell you a little bit about Spirit Drivers. Our mission is to infuse confidence in your human spirit during these uncertain times. That is why Greg and I came together across the ocean, because I'm in Zurich and he's in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, to create this offering. And it's a community. We host digital forums that are designed to revive your sense of confidence and hope and position you to really thrive in living your unique purpose and vision in the world.
At the outset of all of this, we realized that people were losing their confidence, and the loss of confidence actually resulted in a loss of confidence by a lot of people. And we can't necessarily help with confidence, but we can definitely help with confidence, so that you can again refocus on your personal vision and get this sort of the spirit that you need back. And so Spirit Drivers was born with that idea, and we're really looking forward to our first cohort of folks, and to anyone who wants to join our Telegram group. It's become a very powerful tool for everyone to be able to communicate and start to get their lives back in order.
Absolutely, because there's so many crazy circumstances happening right now, and our mission is to have people be focused on what is meaningful for them in life, and to be focused really and fiercely in that way. So we've selected a few thought leaders, people who are walking the walk or walking the talk and the walk, who are sharing their wisdom and their knowledge, who inspire us to be the best version of ourselves right now. And one of those people is Cole. So I want to tell you a little bit about Cole before we bring her on. So she's spent years and years working for some of the top companies in Silicon Valley. And she really specializes in bringing kindness together with smart business strategy to help companies and teams thrive in their business. She is leading a kindness revolution in business. And she also brings in this mix of her practices of mindfulness, and she makes mindfulness and practices that help you de-stress and be present in the moment really accessible to individuals and business teams through her agency, Cool Audrey. And she's changing the landscape of business. She is a powerful source of wisdom and knowledge, and we're so honored to have her here today. So without further ado, Cole, welcome to the Spirit Drivers videocast.
Yay! Hello, everybody. It's nice to see you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much again for being here.
Of course.
So will you tell us kind of your experience during the lockdown, during COVID-19? What's your mindset like right now?
You know, it sort of ebbs and flows, right? I've been a mindfulness practitioner for 26 years, so I had a little bit of a jump start, and an advantage, I think, compared to a lot of friends and colleagues and family members that I have. So that certainly helped a great deal. I have had only really two very low moments, and one was when my yoga studio closed. That was just a wonderful place of community, and the other one was when Helen Reddy died, and well, actually three, RBG. So those are the days that I've cried during COVID, and kind of released that energy. The rest of the days, what I've seen are just this amazing sense of humanity rising, and I've been really inspired by that. I've taken advantage of the time pre-COVID, I was traveling 3 to 4 days every week, and I wasn't with my family a lot. So had a lot of precious time with them, and have been studying French and been studying ukulele and learning some new things for myself to feed my spirit during COVID. So I think, a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, I'm probably at about a 7 or 8 most days. And I think that's pretty good.
Wow. Yeah. What a great mindset. It's really all about how you look at the opportunity that you have to stay at home, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, well, for some people, right, I certainly acknowledge it's a very difficult time too, because our sanctuaries have become our everything, our schools, our offices, our command centers for life. And so these places that used to be, provide refuge for us after a long and busy day in the outside world, now everything is here. And it's very difficult for so many people to be at home, because there's a lot coming at them and there's no other place to go right now. But I think in addition to that, I think that, people are feeling a lot of energy that they didn't experience before. Maybe they were just too busy to notice. And so sitting with themselves can be quite difficult now as well. So as lovely as it is to have that gift of time, there are also these very real challenges that I acknowledge when it comes to, sort of our new place of being, at least for a while longer.
Absolutely. I can totally relate with that. And I will just add that my husband, to help me to do this interview here in Zurich, he's in our bedroom. So
Yes.
we have to share space in a new way, be generous with each other in a new way.
Yes.
And also another thing that I've noticed is rhythms, and working from home has a completely different rhythm than going to an office. And sometimes those transition periods get lost.
Yes. Yeah,
And
they do.
I've also seen it from the perspective of my businesses. People are okay with working from home for a while, but then it gets a little old and it gets a little cramped and it gets a little too busy with the commingling of the family and the home life along with the business life. So I think people really are well served if they can find a way to recenter themselves several times a day, because there's no way to get out of for a lot of people, there's no way to get away from all of this. And it's going to be our new normal for probably quite some time.
Yeah, I think Greg, you've really hit an essential point. Centering ourselves. I was just asked the other day what my routine was like in the morning, my Monday routine specifically, and I don't have a Monday routine or a Tuesday routine or Wednesday. All of my days are different. I think that's true for most of us. But what I do commit to every single day is I start every morning with mindful sitting, and some people call that meditation. I call it sitting because it's more accessible for those who don't understand meditation. But for me, that is where it's my anchor, it's my compass for the rest of the day, for every moment of my day. And, as I've been working with my clients over the COVID sort of period of time, the things that we were working on before have become increasingly relevant now. So things like taking a pause to breathe and sort of reset yourself between activities, creating barriers for yourself between work and life. And that was true before, whether you were working in an office or from home. It was something that we were really lacking in American culture in particular. At least it's probably a little different in Zurich. I know the Europeans tend to value holiday and downtime much more than we do here in our pace of due in America. But I think that, throughout the day, if we can find an opportunity to take a walk outside, change the scenery a little bit, even if it's just sitting in your chair and taking 6 to 12 breaths, or, getting up and going to pet the dog, something to break up the day, to give you a little human connection and a chance to sort of re-anchor, super important, especially now. Always was, but especially now, when we're sort of these command centers, these places that we've loved so much are now sort of everything.
Right.
Absolutely. And I want to take this opportunity to invite those of you watching now to engage with your questions and comments for Cole. If you have anything, we'll keep track of your comments and Cole will be able to answer them live. And we'll also respond after the interview as well, if you're watching this after the live interview. So Cole, what I would love to know more about the kinds of practices and the kind of work that you do with your clients, and why, a little deeper into why kindness and why mindfulness is so important right now.
So I think kindness and mindfulness have always been important. As a couple of quick definitions, because this is a place where a lot of people struggle. Mindfulness has become a word that has become so diluted in our culture, particularly here in the Western part of the world. And so mindfulness quite simply means paying attention on purpose. It's being aware in every single moment. I mean, that's the very simple definition, my working definition. And I borrow that from sort of the fellow who I consider to be the master, John Kabat-Zinn. So it's really just about moment-to-moment awareness. Kindness for me is, as I think about business, as I think about life, I borrow the definition that I learned from years ago from the yoga mat. That's a term called ahimsa, which means do no harm. So take something out into the world that is good and do no harm. And that means thought, word, and action. So, the whole thing. So as I think about sort of life as it were BC, business as it were BC, there was a big absence of kindness and absence of mindfulness. I mean, both things were really, really missing. I remember sitting in airports, because I traveled every week, and it was the saddest thing in the world to me to walk in and I saw all of these heads and the phones were up and the headphones were on, and everybody had just closed themselves off from the world. And that's how it was. The same on street corners and cafes, and, very, very sad sort of state of things. And it was so weird because I remember, if I looked at somebody or smiled at them, sometimes they looked at me like maybe there was something wrong or I was very suspicious. So we weren't being very mindful before. And I think it was really beginning to show up in burnout numbers and anxiety and depression and all of these other things that are sort of plaguing the people of the world right now. Kindness, oh my gosh, if we just think about the examples, we can look around the world in business, in life, in politics, the whole 9 yards, and we can see an absence of that ethos of do no harm. It's just something that's so vitally needed. And so as we moved into the COVID period of time, like I said, it was very jarring, right? So a lot of people who had been moving on autopilot, racing, suddenly they were forced to sit with themselves, look at their life in a different way, to be mindful, even if it was not intentional. They were just sort of forced into that sort of that frame of being. And then I think it's given a lot of folks a really great opportunity to look around and identify changes that they want to make. Where are places that they could be healthier and happier and experience more contentment? Where are places where they had an opportunity to drive deeper connections with themselves and their family and their friends? So where were there opportunities for them to extend that ethos of doing no harm in their own walls, inside of their communities and their business, right? So really, really important stuff now, always has been, but super important now. Absolutely.
I love that and totally agree with you. And it just strikes me, the definition of kindness as ahimsa, do no harm, and the difference between another definition of kindness, which might mean actively doing something nice for someone else. And that act, if you're reaching across political lines or you're reaching across to someone who maybe you disagree with really strongly right now, that can seem really out of reach for some people. So, but doing no harm is so much easier to access.
Yeah,
So,
well, it is. I think it is, right. So do you mean the definition is easier to access? The idea
definition, yes.
Yeah, for sure. So, and I think I tell people, nice and kind are different. To me, nice is very superficial. self-serving thing. Sometimes it's just fleeting. It's kind of like happiness and joy, right? Happiness is to joy, as nice as to kind. Kindness is this heart thing. It is this soul thing. It's a spirit thing that comes from deep inside. And I think it's really tough to be kind sometimes, especially with the example that you've mentioned, when our nervous systems are responding in a way that, we're sharing anger and this just, vitriol that sort of people are feeling. It's frustration and it's uncertainty and it's fear and it's all of these things compounded into one place. It becomes really, really difficult to stabilize yourself enough so you can get to the place of doing no harm. And so that's one of the things that I teach people to do is how can you access that place first so that you can get to the place where you can extend kindness and really live into the ethos of doing no harm in every thought, word, and action. So it's tough sometimes. It's tough for me sometimes too.
Absolutely.
Cole, can you talk a little bit about the connection between kindness and effectiveness? Because I've found personally that the kinder I am and the more intentional I am about wanting to help and be a sort of the typical servant leader path, is much more effective than taking a more aggressive path. And even if the subject matter is exactly the same, it's the intentional kindness and I'm just wondering if that's been your experience and what your client experience has been with that.
For sure. It has absolutely been my experience. And it's not just mine. The research actually shows this, Greg. So what the research shows, there's a very interesting neuroscientist, Dr. Richard Davidson, and he studied he was studying this thing called the unified theory of happiness. And so he broke the brain down into 4 circuits or quadrants, if you will. And what he showed in the 4th circuit is that we are naturally wired for generosity, collaboration, and compassion, which is compassion and kindness are the same to me, right? And so if you can live into that nature, which, if you think about children, oh my gosh, they're the most wonderful, creatures in the world, right? They walk up, they want to be friends with each other. They don't see color, they don't see gender. They see a face. They see another person their size, their age that they want to befriend. They want to hold their hand and invite them to swing and all of these wonderful things. We are wired for that. So it would just make sense that if we can live into that state that we're already wired to be, that we would be much more successful with one another. But then the research goes a little further. Another body of research goes a little further to show that kindness actually helps create trust between people. So as we think about people moving forward, I have the saying that you have to be able to bring people together before you can move them forward, right? So as we think about that ability, the ability to move forward relies on the ability to trust one another. And in that trust, then we're able to find a point of collaboration to live into the nature that we are. And then from that, we're able to create these new ideas, which make us effective, productive together, right? So it is the road and the bridge to everything good in life and in business, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, that's my business, right? Is to help people live into both of those things. But I think that when there's an absence of that, and again, we can see examples of that in our world, even in our local communities, we can understand the fallout and the disconnection and the isolation that comes on the other side, right? So, very, very compelling research around kindness and the ability that it has to let us live into the best version of ourselves and then actually come together in that spirit. And man, wouldn't that be the best thing? I mean, Greg, do you remember the commercial from the Coca-Cola commercial from like the 70s? I'm dating myself, but that's cool because I feel great. Remember when they all held hands around the world and
right. I love that
commercial. The Coke and bring them all together. Like that's my dream scenario for the entire planet. It's just like everyone holding hands and singing, like I imagine it like around the whole earth, and it just gives me chills. How fab would that be? It'd be great.
Well, that's a
Wow.
great vision. It sounds like it's your business vision also.
Oh,
I mean,
absolutely. I am leading a kindness revolution in business, and I say it very boldly. Not by myself, though. I'm just instigating it. I am relying on other people who feel exactly the same way, who have that understanding that there's something missing that we need to bring back into our lives, into our world, to our business. I'm inviting them to join me because I am just one person, but I certainly am instigating it because I saw the other side of it when I was in corporate America. And I think the most common comment I get is, well, Cole, business isn't kind. And I said, I know. That's why I'm here. Exactly. That's largely, it's not a kind place. Largely kindness and business are not equated in the same sentence. So yeah, I need people to join the revolution. So come on, join me.
we're Elise and I are right here with you. This is
I know,
great.
I love that. I love that. And and we've got Elise like on the another part of the globe. So this is great. We're already starting to make the chain. I love it. I love it.
One of the benefits of technology is that it allows us to do this. And
yeah.
You're such a perfect example of someone who has a clear vision for what you're creating in the world, and you've created your career around that vision, and every single day you're working towards that vision, and that leads to you feeling as good as you feel, and being able to have so much energy like that. That's what we want to create with spirit drivers, really, is people who say, hey, this is what I'm about, this is my vision, this is the kind of world that I want to live in. And taking this moment where we're unstable, the ground is shifting, things are changing, and taking this opportunity also to go within, taking that time to go within and ask, what is it that I believe? What is it that I want to see more of in the world?
Yes.
And then taking steps in that direction, because that's what lights us up. That's what gives us energy. That's what allows us to be kind to each other as well, when we're clear about the mission that we're on.
Absolutely. And you know what, Elise, to that I'll say, you know that I love Helen Reddy, and I've already mentioned this, now as I grew up with my mother blaring this through my house. But there was this one song that she has, that it's called I Am Woman. And it's all about strength and conviction and the lessons we learn and how that can provide us a launch pad to move forward. And so for me, it's absolutely true. I mean, I lived a long time, in another chapter of my life, doing what I thought other people wanted me to do, doing what I thought I should be doing. And, I was not courageous back then to actually live into this life that I'm living into now. And so what I would say to people is that we spend an average of 90,000 hours. It's just average. That's not talking about the overachievers. That's just talking about the average person. 90,000 hours of our lifetime at work. I mean, that's a big number. And so, I know it's crazy, right? But think about this, like you shuddered, right? But and most people would, they're like, oh my gosh, how many hours have I logged so far and how many more do I have to log? But think about it this way. If you have the opportunity, like you do right now, Elise, and you do, Greg, to do the work that sets your soul on fire, that you really just love so much that every day you wake up and it feels like a holiday because you get to engage in this work that you've chosen. Imagine how those 90,000 hours, that experience could be so different. And then begin to connect that with the experience you have at home, in your communities, as your soul inside of yourself. You can begin to understand how your spirit does become very ignited when you're doing something that allows you to live into the best version of yourself. And we all have something. So my message to people right now is you're not stuck. I mean, there are some people who have more ability than others to choose, but I would say that even if you have to work right now in the job that you're in, if it's not making you happy, begin to manifest, begin to give some consideration. I mean, write it down, begin to think about, how do I want to spend the hours of my day? And, who do I want to serve through my work? What do I want to do? And why would it matter for me and for the world and for the people that I serve? And begin giving that some thought, because anybody can do it. You just have to get to the point in your life where you can be courageous enough to actually, or crazy enough to make that jump, to say, okay, here I am. Let's just go for it. So,
right.
Oh, thank you for sharing that, Greg.
Oh, I was going to say that you're actually describing very well one of my theories is that if you don't do what you love, you have to work for a living. And if you, right? And it really is there's a lot of unhappy people in the world who don't realize that even just, creating a journal to start writing down what you'd really like to do.
Yes.
If you're working in a tired office job, would you really like to be a chef, right?
Yeah.
Figure out the thing that really makes you happy, and whether or not you can make the transition or just make the transition some of the time, it's bringing more joy to your life. And I think a lot of people need that guidance, where that's one of the key elements of spirit drivers, is being able to, get out of people what their actual vision is, and then help them try to achieve that.
Yeah, and Greg, you're so right, and I love what you two stand for, and I love spirit drivers and what you all are bringing to the world. So thank you for that. I want to share something for the people who are in a situation that they can't change right now, and maybe they won't be able to change for the next year. Short story, back in 2008 when the market crashed, and I was on the bad end of that situation. It was just it was a dumpster fire for me personally and then professionally as well. I had to quit doing something that I really, really, really loved. And I had to go back into the corporate world. And when I did, the short story is that I worked in a place that the culture was not good. It was very toxic. The leadership was very toxic. But and every day was really, really tough for me. I cried on the way to work, and I was practicing mindfulness, practicing yoga, and I still found myself in this really sad place. I cried on the way home. And so a lot of people might be feeling that way right now, that they're literally suffering through these hours of their day. But here was the turning point for me. I got sick of crying after a few months. I was like, this is not who I am. This is, just a really bad way to be. And my young son at the time was beginning to notice that mommy was just very unhappy. And so I had a moment where I grabbed my book, Greg. Journaling is so powerful. Writing with, these pens, so powerful, way more powerful than a computer. And I started writing down ways that I could care in the absence of passion. So I had no passion for the work I was doing at all at that time, but what could I care about? And so when I flipped that switch and I began thinking about, well, these are the people I serve and this is why they need me. These are my team members that I work with and this is why we're good together. This is where we can help one another. My experience changed. So it didn't make the job any different. It didn't make the leadership any different or the culture any different, but it made me feel different when I showed up for work, and it made me feel better. And so it was the thing that allowed me for the next year and a half of my life to actually get through that with a lot of grace and contentment and come home and feel happy. And I wasn't crying anymore on the way to work. So, for those people who are stuck right now, as you're journaling and you're figuring out the next path and living into the vision that you all are trying to help people realize through spirit drivers, I think write down something that you can care about, even if you're in a job that doesn't feed your soul. What is it that you can care about? And really begin to focus on that for this time. Just for this time, for this moment. And that'll really help a lot as well.
Well, that's great advice. Thank you so much for sharing that. I believe in journaling.
Yes.
Because if you don't write it down, it doesn't happen.
Right. It's a good point. Yeah,
it's really a powerful story. Really a powerful story. And that it also reminds me of a book called One Small Step Can Change Your Life. And in that book, it's about the Kaizen way. I can't remember who the author is, but it's about the Kaizen way, which is you take such small steps that your amygdala doesn't get triggered. So you actually don't get afraid from such a big change, but you take the tiniest little step to switch your behavior, just minuscule. And over a period of time, you have a transformation that you want to see in your life. And one of the things he talks about in the book is the power of questions. So your question was, what can I care about now in the absence of passion? That's such a powerful question. And if your question is, what do I really want to do with my life? Or what do I really want to do with my career? What makes me happy? Even if you don't have the answer, even if you're not able to even journal it out, just asking yourself the question can trigger things, because your mind loves questions. So you just keep rolling that question around in your mind, and then eventually something will come out.
Right.
Absolutely, right, because it's going to start to percolate, right? It's going to open up a gateway that allows you to arrive at a different realization, or maybe some realization you had never entertained before, but it was there all along. So yeah, the journaling, the writing, I have pens and books everywhere, because it is the most powerful thing for me personally every day, is to help. It helps me create intention. It helps me manage my stream of consciousness. It helps me with a lot of wonderful things. So yeah, all of us have books. We all agree, and pens. I love it. I love it. It's great. So important.
And for those watching, there is a huge clue here for you. Get a good pen, and make sure you have at least a couple of those around all the time.
Yes.
Absolutely agree. And this is bringing up something that we talked about before, Cole, which is the concept of mental immunity.
Yeah.
And it feels like this is one of the practices that can build up your mental immunity. And I wonder if you could define that for us, and talk about some of the practices that you do to keep your mental immunity high.
Sure. So mental immunity is not my phrase or definition. It's just something that I think I really live into with my work, and prioritize it as the first thing. So we've been thinking a lot about our physical immunity right now with response to COVID, and wearing masks and social distancing, and how do we keep ourselves safe from the world, from each other? How do we keep each other safe, to keep the body healthy? But the body and mind are connected. We're all one piece. And so I think that's another, going back to what we initially talked about, people being home, I think they're realizing, wow, body and mind are connected, and they're beginning to feel evidence of that. So when your mind, quite simply, is not in a place where it is healthy, where it is grounded, where it's clear, then you're going to have, the body will begin to feel repercussions from that, because again, it's all one piece. So mental immunity is about, how do I keep my mind healthy? How do I keep my mindset clear? And how do I use that to actually help me navigate in body, mind, and spirit, sort of, every moment of my life. So couple of things I do. So we already mentioned that I engage in mindful sitting every single morning. That is the first thing I do. If there was a camera in my bedroom every morning, my arms go up in the morning in gratitude. To the universe for another day. I'm so grateful to be alive. I send a mindful sort of energy prayer out to the people I love, to the world around me, and then I sit. And I clear space, and I notice what's there. That's the most important part, is, there's no getting it right or getting it wrong. It's just noticing what's there in a very present and deliberate way. And then that becomes my anchor for the rest of the day. So that's one of my practices. And throughout my day, I will take 6 to 12 breaths between everything that I'm engaging in. So it's between one email to another. I write a lot now. I do a lot of interviews. So between everything, 6 to 12 breaths, eyes closed, so I can just kind of figure out what's going on up here, so I can keep my mindset clear. That is mental immunity.
I'm stealing that one.
Exercise. So I call it PBA. I call it pause, breathe, and assess. So take a breath, take 6 breaths. That's the pause, right? And breathe into yourself on purpose. I mean, we've been breathing since the day we were born. Isn't that wonderful? The first thing we ever did. So I was reminded of that a couple of weeks ago. And there was something so beautiful about that statement to me. It was the first thing we did as human beings when we entered this world, was we took a breath. So breathe on purpose, 6 to 12 breaths. And then assess, where am I? How am I feeling? Do I have an ache or pain somewhere? The body tells us what's going on. It tells us when we're becoming stressed out. And when you begin to notice these things in a deliberate way, you're able to connect. So practice number 1 is that action of breathing with intention, assessing where are you, just kind of checking in. Practice number 2 is then really writing something down. It might be one or two words, but it's a point of reflection. It increases our awareness. It helps to keep our mind clear. If you find yourself in a place where the day has really gotten away from you, it's really tough. Maybe someone you love is, become ill, or you've had a meeting that didn't go so well, or you're just maxed out. Before you engage with another person, sit and write down how you're feeling. It doesn't have to be a dissertation. It doesn't even have to be a complete sentence. No one else is going to read it. This is for you to sit and write down, how am I feeling? What is going through my mind? And what I found over 26 years now is the more that we can engage in those simple practices, the more able we are to understand, to make that very quick connection with ourselves that helps to boost our mental immunity. The last thing I'll add is, we are a product of every single thing that we take in. So we don't have cable in our house. We have regular channels, and we very much have a choice about, are we even going to watch anything on the screen tonight? So be mindful of what you take in, through your eyes, through your ears, through your mouth, through the world around you, through all of your senses. Be very, very mindful. Hug the people that are in your house. Pet a dog when you can. If not, if you live alone and you don't have any critters, you should consider getting a critter, or just wrap your arms around yourself, put your hands in your lap to have a point of connection. Don't sit and watch the news channels 24/7. It'll just take you down, right? It's a lot of noise. Listen, we were talking about music before we joined each other today, right? Listen to your favorite music, and maybe listen with your eyes closed, or sit down, or do something that brings you joy. So those three things: pause, breathe, and assess. That's number one. Number two is write down, how are you feeling? Begin to make practice out of that. Number three is be super mindful of what you take in. And all of those things help to increase gradually your mental immunity, just like, helps to keep your body healthy, mind healthy, all of it. It's wonderful.
So much goodness. I was having just sparks of just other things that I've read and other authors I've read, like Eckhart Tolle and The Power of Now and Inhabiting the Body. And it's just so much goodness. And Greg and I were both talking recently about the social dilemma, excuse me.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Which is this documentary on Netflix about social media and big tech companies, and how our technology is designed to get us trapped in the web. And I find myself just trapped in the web so easily, trapped on social media, rushing from thing to thing, rushing from email to email, seeing how much I can knock out all at once. And then I feel this sense of scattered, this sense of stress that I've created on my own, just all by myself, me and my computer. And so the practices you're talking about are ways to slow down, reconnect with your body, reconnect with your feelings. And that is what all it takes to build up mental immunity, is those practices and habits over and over and over again. And it's perfect for building up your immunity against circumstances like, and things that you don't want to have in your field, the news, social media, things that can just come at you without you being intentional.
Yeah, absolutely. And Elise, I'm going to let you off the hook a little bit. You didn't do that to yourself with social media or the web. It's by design that you continue to go deeper, right? And before you know it, hours of your day have been sort of sucked away. So I'm going to date myself again, but when I was growing up, we had a rotary phone that was hooked into the wall, and we had two in our house. One was in my mother's bedroom, totally off limits. The other one was in the kitchen. So it had a cord like this long, right? So when we talked, Greg, you remember, I had to go into the pantry and hold the phone, but we had an answering machine, right? We had 3 channels on television. It was ABC, CBS, NBC, and then I think UHF, or the PBS channel, which nobody wanted to watch because it was all like the learning shows when I was small. So the greatest thing though is that television went off at 11 o'clock at night. If you were on the phone and somebody called you, then it rang busy, at least until we had call waiting. But it was this this ability that we had, technology gave us an ability to actually live into every single moment and be focused. You know, if we were talking on the phone, that's all I was doing, was talking on the phone. I wasn't able to even move to another room of my house. It was very special. Now, you know, we are absolutely inundated with, gosh, firstly, so many choices around the technology, but so much information, and it's not all good. It's not going to feed our souls. There's a lot of it that's really terrifying. So I think that building up, you brought up a really good point, Elise, you know, building up a practice around your technology utilization is something I should add to the list of mental immunity. Let's add that right now. Let's add that right now, that if you are searching something, maybe we could combine these practices, right? We combine the writing down what am I going to search for on the web with 6 breaths afterward to keep ourselves clear. Then we go and we search on the web, and then we have the discipline to say, that's it. Now I'm going to move on to the next thing. So let's just add that to the fun today, shall we?
Yes, agree.
Boy, that is great advice. This movie that we've been talking about, I was actually fortunate to be able to be in an interview last week with the director and the producer,
Oh, wow.
the Stanford students who developed that film.
Wow.
Their point was there are no free services.
No.
Right? There's a cost of using those services, and the cost is giving up a piece of your intellect along with a forced change in behavior.
Yeah.
It's very powerful to listen to how they described all of that. It has made an immediate difference for me because I watched the film once and I didn't get it, right? Didn't sink in at all. I listened to them and watched the film again, and I just drank in every single word because now I get it. Now my phone has fewer notifications and I'm about ready to get rid of it altogether.
Let's do it. Let's do it, Greg. Let's get rid of them. I mean, I've got a flip phone from like 1980 something. In my phone. Let's do it. Let's get rid of them. What do you think would happen if we got, I mean, what's the worst thing? So then you'd have to have a camera around your neck if you wanted to take pictures. So what? So we've got that. So what else, Greg? What else could there be if we got rid of the smartphone?
I think if you just have a laptop or a computer,
yeah,
right? It's the same information. It's basically just being doubled at you.
yes.
But your computer doesn't necessarily buzz every time somebody mentions you on Facebook, and you're not compelled to go look at Facebook, or that you get news alerts all the time. Yeah. I'm happy with reading the simplest, clearest news that's available, and all this other stuff. Oh, it's a bad form of entertainment to me, and that's one of the things I believe that we need to shed as quickly as possible, especially now.
I totally agree. My saying is, you know, Cool Audrey made a very she and I made a very bold decision recently about 6 weeks ago to come off of Instagram. And the interesting thing was, I haven't been on Facebook since 2008. So the funny thing to me about my Instagram experience is that it was really, I never liked it. It felt like a job for me. I never enjoyed putting information out there. And a woman who works with me, who helps me sort of get my articles and things out there, she said, Cole, you have to do it. Like, everybody's on Instagram. And I said, it makes me feel really, really uneasy. It makes me feel upset. Like, I just loathed that moment where I had to do anything. She said, just put the goodness out there and it'll be fine. And it never was fine. And so now, after watching that documentary, I understand the reason it's not fine is because it goes against circuit number 3 in our mind, which is focus. So people said, well, how are we going to show you pictures? I said, well, if you don't have my phone number in your phone, then you shouldn't be showing me pictures. I feel the same way. If I don't know how to reach somebody, or if I'm not in contact enough with them, why am I going to show them where I went on vacation? Does it really matter? So I don't know. That's just kind of, I want it so badly to get back to the days when we have the ability and the wonderful opportunity to sit still and focus on one conversation at a time, because it's either because of discipline or technology where we're not pulled. So you know what, Greg, you're right. It boils down to choice at this point, right? It's not so much about, well, we can, but should we? We can, but
Right.
should we? So yeah, thank you for making me think about that in a different way today. I appreciate you.
So I appreciate you. This has been a great conversation. I think that at the end of the day, one of the things I miss most about the normal life, if I ever had a normal life, is going to the movies. Right?
Yeah.
It's today. I love watching stuff on my computer, but it's not the social experience of getting some really rotten popcorn and a watered down soda and going and enjoying just being by yourself with a great piece of art for a few hours.
Absolutely.
We are working on drive-in movies here, by the way.
Love that.
Right.
I love it. There's a place actually right now. Greg, I'll catch up with you afterward. It's in North Carolina. It's not that far from you. I'm going to tempt you. It's only about 30 minutes. They have a drive-in situation set up, and you can go buy the bad popcorn and the watered down soda. Like, you could just tell them to put a lot of ice in this much soda, but that community experience is so important, right? Just to be, even if you're 20 feet away from other people, to hear their laughter and to know that you're experiencing something at the same time together, really cool stuff. So,
or somebody honking their horn at an odd moment in the movie, right? Doesn't that sound like fun?
I know. It's those little things I do miss. I miss there's an energy that's created when people are together in the same space, physical space. And I think that's a beautiful thing that's coming out of this time of COVID. Again, it goes back to mindset, right? But it's this reminder of how much we need one another and how much we need to be connected, and we enjoy, it's such a privilege, right? To be able to just sit. I mean, have either of you had the opportunity recently where you've seen like a friend or, a colleague that you've not seen in a while, even from a distance, but in the same space, you're like, hi, how are you? How's it going?
Yes.
Doesn't that feel great?
Yes.
I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing just to know, like, somebody's right there. So remember that, people. Don't go back to the headphones and the face in the phone. Like, when the cloud starts lifting, then remember how important this connection is, because that is something that keeps your spirit really high as well.
One of the things we did in Spirit Drivers that we guided people to do, and it was really a great exercise, is reconnect with someone that you've wanted to reconnect with, but haven't in quite some time. Reach out, make that connection again.
Yeah.
What a wonderful experience that was.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
I bet. So good.
There are many people that I miss, and many people that I miss hugging. I have such a strong urge to hug people. Maybe it's my training as a tango dancer, but I really, that's one of my biggest challenges during this time, is that I can't hug people like I want to when I am able to see them. Cole, this has been so fantastic. I have really taken away, the biggest takeaway for me, a couple things is, one, you are such a walking example, first of all, vision, but also of intentional joy, intentional well-being, intentional kindness. And that word intentional is so important in the practices you teach, the practices like taking 6 to 12 breaths between each task, intentionality of sitting and being quiet for a few minutes, your intention of gratitude. And I believe that that is so key in this world where there are so many circumstances that can throw you off balance. If you're intentional about the ways that you want to feel, the person that you want to be, the ways that you want to connect, then you feel stable. It's like you have 2 feet on the ground and you're like a tree with roots in that groundedness and in that intentionality. And you can be blown by the wind, but you're not going to fall over, because you're creating your path. You're creating your intentional vision forward. And you're just such a perfect example of that.
Man, thank you. I literally have tears in my eyes. Thank you so much. I love that. I've so loved, having this conversation with you all, and just the way the universe brought us together during this time. Like, think about it. Think about the way you two came together, let's kind of tie off here, right? It really is a matter of mindset, because the two of you, BC, before COVID, didn't have this connection, right? And so think about how beautiful that is, and how much dimension that's added to your life, both of your lives, but then all of the people that you're bringing together in this very intentional way and what a beautiful, powerful thing to uplift everyone's spirit and think about that collective, right? One more step to the world holding hands. So I'm so grateful to have met both of you through these odd circumstances that I will forever celebrate these circumstances, because they've brought so many wonderful opportunities and joy and realization. So thanks for having me join you today. I've loved every second.
Thanks for being the absolute example of a spirit driver. We love having you as part of the team.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Greg. I appreciate that. And I've written myself a note for the Telegram group, because that's something that I want to be a part of. So I wrote it down in my book just now.
It's a guaranteed enjoyable joy.
I can't wait. More joy is always welcome. So thank you so much. So if anybody has questions, please let me know. They can find me on LinkedIn under Cole Baker Bagwell, or they can find me on my website at coolaudrey.com. But I'm happy to answer any questions from anyone at any time.
Great.
I'm sure you'll get many. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Be well. Elise, I look forward to a tango lesson soon.
Yes, it's in there. It's in our journey somewhere. The next time we meet, tango.
And
in the south of France.
Yes. And okay. So Greg, I'm going to continue on with the French lesson so we can go to France successfully together. And at least when we get there, we're going to all bubble off, because I am going to wrap these arms like right around you. It just gives me chills thinking about it. So.
You're going to have to get in line.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Thanks, everybody. Have such a beautiful day. Thank you again for having me join you. It's been absolutely wonderful. Absolutely.
Thank you again, Cole. So I'm just going to remove you, and one more big kiss.
Bye, Cole.
Wow. Now I'm going with tears, and I'm so grateful to be connected, both Greg, to you and to Cole. And what's amazing is that I've never met either of you in person. So technology, with the downsides, it does have its upsides if we can use it intentionally and use it for our vision. And God, just once again, so grateful for Cole. And as we're signing off here, Greg and I, to everyone watching, we want to invite you to join us on this collective journey and vision of spirit drivers, of uplifting the human spirit. And we do that in a couple ways. You can find us on our website at spiritdrivers.com, where you can learn more about what we do. And you can also join our Telegram group. And I'm going to post both of those things as comments below here, so you have access to those. And once again, I would highly recommend checking out Cole's website, Cool Audrey, because she has some fantastic blogs. She's a great writer, and her writing will uplift your spirit and give you hope. And her work and her website is really inspiring.
She's just been an absolute gift for us today. We hope that you all feel the same way about her interview today. Thank you all for spending your time with us. Elise and I are looking forward to your joining our Telegram group, as well as to exploring more in our Spirit Drivers company opportunity and our course opportunity, as it'll be all available to you on our website, spiritdrivers.com.
Great. So Greg, shall we finish with how we finish our meetings?
Digital hug. Digital hugs. The best hug.
Digital to hug to everybody watching. We thank you again. We will see you next week for another Videocast interview. We've got somebody else special coming on, so expect to see more from us. And thank you again. Ciao.